Well, the weather finally improved. It's been raining all night and then all morning. It was very miserable and cold. And I decided I want to climb up there and see how much water I have. And this guy is parked next to me with exactly the same Volvo A40G, but he used outrigger boards on a drop side rail. This looks like a fontaine. It sits pretty good on a drop side rail. Sits pretty good on a level deck, 60-ton RGN. All right, let's go see. Check this out. You see it has holes. That's pretty neat. It has holes at the bottom. You see that? And so the water does not accumulate. That's good. Because this bucket, if it was raining all night, this bucket could have easily have like 2,000 pounds of water. There's an interesting trailer park next to me. I want to show you guys because that's what I've been thinking about recently. And then we're gonna climb from this cold inside the machine. But recently I've been thinking about these poor man's trailers. See, this is a beam, right? Looks like a Trail King. So the guy using a tandem Jeep and probably a 60-ton tried them with a tandem booster. But look how low this thing is, right? So it's only sits, so that's the beam, right? So no sides. So he put two timbers, looks like what, 8x8, 10x10, two timbers in the front, two timbers in the back, and of course he has to carry all this. And it doesn't look that tall, but I think they used the beam because of that boom. And this is a Zenebogen, the German material handler. Remember, I did one of these. I moved a smaller one. This is what, 840. I moved I think it was a 740 series or something. I moved it to Manitoba, and I also had sorry for the wind. What? I also had an issue with the boom. Oh, nice in here, except it's still cold. You know, I feel very tempted to use this to raise the bucket, because that's all we have to do, you know. See, this is down, this is up. I'm not sure what this does. This probably neutral, but it's very easy, like very small, you know, very handy, kind of like a shift in a car, right? And look at this gorgeous monitor. And these things cost a lot of money. It's kind of like what a guy was telling me on an excavator. He says always make sure you lock the door, because he says on a modern excavator that thing is a few $1,000 bucks. You see, so I'm sitting pretty high here. And that's a pilot in the distance. They used to have a restaurant inside. Everything was closed down because of COVID. So all you have, all the food you can buy is kind of like what they have in the deli over there. And you see these that's what Volvo keys look like. Green and gray. Goes in here. So anyway, what I was thinking about as I was driving is, you know, I'm getting this loan from the government, right? And I want to be smart and spend it on something that will help me make more money, or that will reduce my expenses. And so I'm getting extra axle, right? So I'm getting axle, so I'll be able to do a 3+2 trident plus tandem booster. And I hope my JC trailer booster will work, because I think it's designed more for like 3+1, but you see now as I'm using shims, it's 3+2. I mean 2+2, it works, but you need to remove the top pins and increase and put like that much shim in there, otherwise it doesn't work. But 3+2 is better, especially when you have a machine with a long boom, like a drill rig, like a piling rig, or even something like that Zenebogen. That boom puts a lot of weight on the rear of the trailer. So but of course there's drawbacks, right? 3+2 means that you are at least 6 feet longer. And so in some states where before you didn't need to use any pilots, now you need to use pilots, which increases your expenses and reduces your bottom line. But these beam trailers, actually, you know, they're not that expensive. Well, I don't need a whole trailer, I just need the deck, right? I just need to replace the deck because my trailer is modular. And I've been talking to Fontaine. Fontaine gave me a quote. They need about 3 or 4 months to build it, and they want like $2,500 down, and then you pay the rest when you pick it up. And then one of the local trailer manufacturers here in Ontario gave me a quote, and their price was about 7,000 or 8,000 US cheaper than Fontaine, but I need to drive 5 hours to the factory twice. First for measurement, right? So 5 hours, then 5 hours back, so the 10 hours. It's like 600 miles. And then when the thing is ready, I have to drive again for preliminary fitting. So first it's measurement, and then it's preliminary fitting, because they say if they're off by like half an inch somewhere, the thing will be crooked. So basically, you know, that's the problem, because it's a kind of like a third-party manufacturer, right? And I said, what about, are there any fees? Because somebody told me that sometimes they sneak these fees in on you, like they give you a low price, but because this is Fontaine and they make their own trailer, which is different, right? So they have to change the engineering and all the drawings for this, and so they charge you a fee for this, like engineering fee, because they have to change the design, right? And they never told me this, but a friend of mine says, make sure you ask them about this, if they charge you any engineering or consulting fees, because your deck is different. And so I sent an email to the guy, and he says, well, yeah, normally we charge $1,500, but we're gonna give you a break, and we're gonna waive this fee on your deck. And so it's 28 feet beam. But you know, I'm telling you, it's, first of all, it's still a lot of money. And of course, I don't have a constant customer. I'm still operating on the spot market, right? So every day is different. And so, but most of all, I'm kind of like, I watched a few videos on YouTube how people work with these beam trailers, and you know, if I'm complaining about a long day on my trailer, sometimes it takes like a full day to load, right? On these beam trailers, geez, these guys, sometimes it takes them like 2 days, you know, because they have to put the, you know, they have to put timbers, and they're very heavy, like at least 100 pounds. So they have to put timbers on the ground and then drive the machine, like let's say a rock truck or an excavator. They have to drive it on the beams, right? And then they have to put more timber, I mean, on above the trailer. And then they have to put timbers on the deck, and then they raise the deck. I still don't fully comprehend the idea, because you know, the rear part of the trailer sits on wheels, right? So yeah, you can drain the suspension, but the front part you drop on the ground. There's much more movement in the front, whereas in the back, I don't know, maybe you'll gain like 6 inches. So which to me means that you have to put much more timbers in the back there where the wheels are. Anyway, I never did this. It's kind of scary, and then if you're not centered properly, the thing will fall off and, you know, kill a few farmers somewhere in Iowa, you know. Basically, it's too much work, and it's dangerous. And the same broker that I'm doing this load for, she posted a couple of more loads, and I see it's the same broker, and I email her and say, hey, I see you have 2 more loads, but there's no weight. She just puts like 99999, which I know it's BS, it's not the real weight. And she says, yeah, one is 112 or 8. No, one is 112,000 pounds. So I need to bring all my guns, so to speak, my tandem Jeep, and hook up the tandem booster, and, you know, run on 9 axles or 10 axles, depending whether I want to put down my lift axle. And then, so one is 112 or 115, something like that, 1,000 pounds. And then the other one is like 97,000 pounds, and both are excavators. And I started typing the reply. Oh, and she puts the rate. I want to be at this amount. But again, they pay for permits. Like, I pay for them first, but then they reimburse me. I send them the copies of all my permits, and I send them an invoice from the permit company, and then they modify the rate confirmation, and I get that money back, right? But you still have to spend them up front. So you're not making any money on the permits. They just give you back whatever you paid. But the point of this long-winded story is that I started typing the answer that, yeah, I can do both of these. And then my eye went to dimensions on the bigger machine, and I'm like, wait a second, it says height 13 feet 4 or 5 inches. I'm like, hold on. So I deleted the sentence where I said I can do 2, I can do both. So I retyped, and now it said I can do the smaller one, because yeah, the top one is too you need a beam for that one, kind of like that trailer, right? And so I asked her, I said, do you see these beam loads, do they pay any better? Because there's definitely much more work, it's extra cost, right? Because you have to have the second deck. You know, if I get a beam, I cannot get rid of my level deck, because beam is very specialized, right? Like, half of the loads like that only good for maybe, I don't know, 20% of the loads. But I do see that they can pay good, but I cannot sell my level deck, right? Whereas, let's say if I buy something like drop side rail, which now I like better, you know, on a 60 ton it would work great, because all my loads are big most of the time. But if I buy a drop side rail, let's say, I can sell this, because there's people that would want my level deck for a 60 ton, because it's only 2 years old, it's in good condition. So you can get like I don't know, 10-15 grand probably. And so this can offset the purchase price on the new deck, you know what I mean? And then you get your trailer now is pretty much like new, right? So now you have a new deck, you know. Whereas with the beam, you cannot do that because the beam is too specialized. So you have to keep the beam and you have to keep the level deck. And so she says, no, I don't actually see that much of a difference. And on these two loads, one is 98,000 pounds, regular trailer, like a 55 ton, right? And then, what is this guy doing? Like walking in circles, driving in circles, and he's talking on the phone. He was looking at me and this tiny little Toyota. He's probably the driver from that truck. Yeah, he was just checking on the load. I saw another guy, some guy in an SUV showed up at that big Zonebogen, some black SUV, and then he, you know, I think people park over here on the weekend, and then, you know, it's a lot of money, right? So they stop by to check. So like with me being in the truck and then I'm sitting inside the Volvo rock truck, it's kind of like hard to steal something, right? But these guys, they just, I don't see any people walking around. They just parked and left, probably called like an Uber or something, or maybe their girlfriend or wife picked them up, you know, and they just went home. And so yeah, the smaller load, 98,000, regular trailer, and then 112, 115,000 beam, and the difference I think was $1,500 US. $1,500. And I said, this bigger load should pay like freaking, I don't know, $20 a mile at least. Because first of all, it's heavy, right? But then you need a specialized trailer. But the thing is, people don't want to pay that, you know? So basically, you buy a highly specialized deck, you spend money, and then you have to swap them all the time, right? You have to pay you have to hire like a wrecker, what I used before, right? You have to hire a wrecker or a forklift. But shippers don't care about that, right? Shippers might care, but since I'm dealing with the spot market or the load board, we're pretty much like the last resort for people, right? So normally they would call their circle of carriers, right? And then if they cannot find a carrier, they put it on the load board, and of course they put like they use a bottom price, you know. And so yeah, so I have two quotes. So one from Fontaine, one from this Temisco gentleman over here in Quebec. But I'm having doubts, you know. So I asked him, I said, hey, how about the drop side rail deck? What's the difference in price? But because of course, you know, drop side rail, it has decks, it has a full deck, right? So it's much more metal, much more material than a beam deck, so it should cost more money. Last time I talked to Temisco, he said before the steel prices went up, he was saying that beam was 28,000 Canadian, just the deck, and the drop side rail was like 31,000 Canadian. So now prices went up. He wanted originally like 34,000 for the beam, so went up by 6,000. And I said, how about drop side rail? And he says, I don't know if he was joking or something, but he said, well, drop side rail will be $18,000 over the beam. What? 18,000? So basically, if you want 34 for the beam, what, you want 42? No, 52 for the drop side rail? That makes no sense. But anyway, chances are probably I'll just get the axle, because I already put the money down on that one, right? So I need to finish paying so I can go and pick it up. Yeah, decks are just, it's too much money. And again, I'm not so sure, and plus I have zero experience. I would have to go somewhere and learn. And again, I am not very willing to learn something where people don't appreciate your efforts, right? Where you have to spend, instead of like, let's say half a day like you saw me loading, right? This thing took me what, like 5-6 times to drive on the trailer. It still took me probably, I don't know, 40-50 minutes to load this thing on a regular trailer. Now imagine if I was loading by myself on a beam, and then I have to muscle all those big timbers, and you cannot, like, look, can you see anything? Can you see the beams? Can you see where you're going? No. So you need a spotter, right? So it's extremely difficult to do it by yourself. With, you know, you cannot even see the ground from here, right? Because you sit so tall. Now look, like I was kind of like scared when I was driving on the trailer, and when I was in the middle, that's it. I could not see the trailer. I was just following there were lines on the pavement, you know, and I was just driving kind of like on the air. And so loading this on timbers, I don't know, it would be nuts. So what I'm saying is it's much more work, and shippers don't want to pay. They basically, my trailer, they want to pay like it's a step deck, and if it's a beam, they just want to pay like you were a fancy flatbed or something. See, like this guy. What? That's tiles for the roof. I hold a bunch of those. And what is that? That's utility combo flatbed, 48 feet with a 10-1 spread. So why I know it's combo? Because the frame is black, so the frame is steel and the top is aluminum. Anyway, so I was relaxing today, and I went and had a couple of sandwiches because I didn't want to eat bread, but there's nothing to buy there. So I took a sandwich and I threw out the top piece of bread, so I only had like small piece of bread. So, and then I bought some boiled eggs, and I already had 2 coffees, but you know, there's nothing to do. I've been watching some videos on my computer, so I think I'll just go grab another coffee, and then we'll do this. We'll create this blockbuster and upload it to YouTube. You see, when you cannot push it in once it's properly closed. And did I turn off the battery? Yes, I did. So when it's on, it's to the left. So now it's off. Good. All right, let me just get down from here without killing myself. And so yeah, the beam, you see, the beam will be just these two with nothing here, right? And so I saw people would put like timbers in here, right? Like that part would sit on a big timber, and that part would sit on a timber, and then you would put timber somewhere here, and of course, so the tires will be here, like this much off the ground. So I don't know, I might think again about this if I find like a dedicated customer. You know, like if somebody says to me, "Hey Sergei, do you have a beam trailer? We have 10 loads coming from the port. You know, if you give us a good price, we'll give you all the loads." You know, something like that. And actually it can happen. I just quoted, one lady emailed me. I said, "How did you find me?" She says, "Google." See, I was right. So no more Facebook, no more Instagram. I just keep updating my Google business page, putting pictures in there, and then they keep you at the top of the results when somebody searches for, let's say, trucking company Ontario. And so this lady says, we have in early April a ship is coming to Ontario, and we have 4 presses, 86,000 pounds each. And as soon as she said presses, like, I know they always need them tarped, right? I said, hold on, I don't carry tarps. I said it was the executive decision of my vice president, no topping for the driver, because we only have one driver. So if the driver gets hurt, 100% of the workforce will be down, so we cannot afford that. And she said, I understand, so could you give me a quote? And I said, where is it going? And they said, these presses basically are coming for some new construction project. Probably somebody is building a factory, and so these things are coming on a ship from overseas. And first they want to put them in storage, 4 presses. And she told me they just go from the port in Ontario. Like, we have a couple of ports here that are not very, usually people don't use them. Usually they go to like Baltimore, right, or I don't know, Chicago. Well, I know there's a port in Montreal, but I've been there once. So most of the time, most people, when something comes from overseas, like Europe or Japan or whatever, they use Baltimore, because it's a huge port. And then they just put it on a truck, just what happened with this, right? But this lady says, no, it's coming to a port in Ontario, and then we just need to ship it. I think she has like 50 kilometers, you know, like 30 miles, and put it in storage. Can you give us a quote? Local work. So okay, I give her a quote, and they said, I have 1 truck, so if you give me more than 1 load, I'll give you a discount, but here's what I want. And she said, okay, but these are presses, you see. So would they agree to put them on a drop side rail? Sometimes people say no. You know, if I had a drop side rail, first off, each time you have to tell customers that, oh, is it okay if I come with a drop side rail trailer? And of course they have no idea what you're talking about, you know. But you can load as long as that press has legs or a flat floor, right? All you do is just remember, when I had my 55-ton drop side rail, I carried a couple of 8x8 hardwood blocks, and you would just put them on each corner, right? And that creates like a level surface, because they will level with the inside beams. And then you just put something down on that. But sometimes people have a problem with that, you know, they think it's not safe. And that way also you cannot load a light load, like that sign, 5,000 or 10,000 pound Nissan sign I hold from Virginia Beach. You cannot put it on blocks, because it's too light. The blocks will be moving no matter how tight you make your chains. It's not safe, you know. So that one, something like that, it still made me some money. So level deck is basically more versatile, but just drop side rail, it's just easy to load, you know, easy to unload. You're very low most of the time. That's what I like. Your center of gravity is low, so it's a bit safer, but again, doesn't work for all loads. And so you see, it's always good to, the most important thing is not the trailer, but the most important thing is finding permanent customers. So let's say if this lady said, yeah, give us a quote, so we need to move these 4 presses, and then when the construction project is ready, we're gonna call you, and we're gonna move these 4 presses to the construction site somewhere in Toronto. So now, like another 30 miles, another 50 kilometers. So, you know, I can make a lot of money like that, because you hardly burn any fuel, right? 86,000 pounds, that's well within my annual permit for Ontario that I buy every year. I have enhanced permit that costs like 740 bucks Canadian every year, but it covers me up to like 100,000 pounds. And so yeah, all my expenses are just fuel and time, right? And so those are the best loads, you know, like local, where people are willing to pay, you know, people are willing to pay your rate. These guys, what is it? Contrans. K-Whopper W900. Huh, he has an air cleaner behind the sleeper. Never saw something like that. He had air cleaner on the frame at the bottom behind the sleeper. What's he trying to do? To make W900 into an aerodynamic truck? Huh, interesting. So anyway, so that's what I'm saying. So I've been thinking about these replacement decks, and none of them make a lot of sense because it's too much money and they're not very versatile. And I need to focus on customers, and especially repeat customers. And that's the bread and butter, you know. So that the best way is when you have a few people, like all I need is like, I don't know, 2-3 customers that always call me, right? And this way, you know, they call you or email you before they bother with the load board, you know, because load board, that's just like last resort when people cannot find a carrier. Where let's say they have a carrier and something happened with the carrier, the guy's on vacation or something like that, you know, and then of course they don't want to pay. So that's why load boards, they always have very low prices, you know, with a few exceptions. So customers, that's the most important thing. So anyway, today is Saturday, so the weather's looking slightly better, but those clouds over there, like they're rushing by it pretty fast. I don't know, it looks like it's gonna rain or snow or something, probably rain again. It's very windy. I don't know, can you see like those clouds moving? Yeah, they move pretty fast. And the truck stop yesterday, Friday, it was all full. There were people on both sides of me here and on that side, but then it's the weekend, so Saturday, right? Everybody left. If I had a family, I probably would have done what those guys did, just drop the trailer and take the truck and go home. But lucky for me, I don't have that problem. I don't have small kids crying at home. Oh, check this out. See the truck? The sign on the door says Premium Ventures. I remember that name. I saw it. I remember it's from somewhere. I'm not sure from where. Premium Ventures. Yeah, those are the guys that I spent like what, 3 years with them after I got kicked out of Landstar and I had nowhere to go, and I had this shiny new orange Kaufman, my first RGN. Well, at least these guys gave me a chance, and you know, I learned a lot working there, you know, hold all kinds of loads, and that kind of helped me start my own little operation. So it was not a very good company, but again, I needed the experience, I needed the work. But it's kind of like funny seeing that they're still in business, and I see the plate on the trailer is blue, which is Ontario, and I remember they were registered in Nova Scotia. So all the trucks had Nova Scotia plates, which are yellow. Like Ontario is blue lettering on a white background, and Nova Scotia is, I don't remember the letters, but I'm pretty sure the background is yellow. So they're still in business. Anyway, that's it. So I'm gonna leave the truck stop tomorrow, Sunday morning, and I have to drive 4 hours north of Toronto into the wilderness and tundra, you know, and pretty much North Pole over there. And there's a dealer that buys and sells these Volvo machines. They deal with everything Volvo rock trucks, Volvo excavators. And the next load is already booked. It's actually one of those excavators I mentioned before, 96 something thousand pounds. So Monday I'm gonna so Sunday I'm gonna drive up there, shut down somewhere near the consignee, and then Monday first thing in the morning I'm gonna unload and then send all my paperwork to my factoring company. So 2 p.m. Eastern time I will have money in my account, and while the money is moving I'll start driving back to my home base, and then I'm gonna call a wrecker, or the wrecker, the same one I used before, for Tuesday morning, because I need one more axle for that 95 or 96,000 pound excavator. I need 8 axles, and I'm thinking either I should just keep the same long neck and hook up the, you know, tandem booster, but then I'm 65,000 pounds empty, which is not very good for Ontario, or I can ask the wrecker to swap my neck extensions, like take off this 83-inch extension, put on the 36-inch, and then I can flip it myself at the port with the excavator I'm picking up, and then take out the spreader bar and hook up the last 2 axles to create a quad, 4 axles. But that's not very easy to do either, because the one I have now in the back, it's a final axle. It has eyes only on one side, so I need intermediate axle in between. So we will have to take off the last axle on the trailer now, then take off the axle from the booster, put it in, and then put the final axle in the back. I don't know why they don't give you eyes on both sides, because it would save so much work. But that's why this axle number 10 I'm buying, that one is an intermediate axle. That one has eyes on both ends. So now I would have that axle here, and so it would be much easier. You don't have to take it off. You can just hook up another axle and slap it on the back. So I'm telling you, like, I will save a lot of time once I have this another intermediate axle with eyes on both sides. And so yeah, Tuesday morning the wrecker will help me. I still have to decide, like I said, if I want to go there with a tandem booster, or if I want to get rid of the booster and just go with a short 8 axle setup, which is better for Ontario, because, you know, Ontario only allows me 71,000 kgs or 156,000 pounds gross on 8 axles. They don't care about boosters, and so if I use the booster, I'm 65,000 pounds. That doesn't leave much room for the excavator, because it's 96,000 pounds, so it's a bit too heavy for that. So if I don't have the booster, then my annual permit covers me. I don't have to buy a single trip permit, you know, even though this broker will reimburse me, but still, it's extra time, extra expense out of my pocket first. And so Tuesday the wrecker will change my trailer. So I have until Tuesday to decide what I want to do, and then I'll start driving south back to Baltimore and load Wednesday, right? Pick up that big machine, and it comes back to Ontario. So stand by for that. I noticed that delivery videos, nobody watches them, so I'm not sure if I want to waste my time with a delivery video. Like, as soon as you put like delivery or unloading in the title, the views are like, for some reason you guys don't like unloading videos. Well, this is it. This is all I got. So this is my weekend update from Fort Erie, Ontario, Canada. Thank you for watching. Be safe, enjoy the weekend. Ciao.